Hey wonderful human beings, welcome back to another video. If you're new here, my name is Remy and I share lots of vegan recipes and tips to help you live well. And today we're going to do another video in my Plants Please series, a series where I share my best tips to help you transition into more of a plant-based or vegan lifestyle. And I thought that we could talk about my vegan story because I realized I have no video on my YouTube channel dedicated to my journey, my experience, my story with veganism, and it is a question that I get asked quite often, so thought it was about time. I'm hoping this video is not going to be long-winded and off the rails. I tried to write out an outline, but it just got messy. So I'm going to tell it to you as if I'm just telling someone for the first time. I also have to give a little bit of a warning. I will be talking about my experience with substances, alcohol, and an eating disorder and kind of mental health topics like that. It's really difficult for me to go into my story without mentioning those things because they're all kind of intertwined, and that's also why it's taken me so long to film this video. So the first time I was introduced to veganism was in college. I think I was in between my freshman and sophomore year when I realized that I had a really bad problem with digesting dairy. This is super common for actually most people because, you know, we are not baby cows, therefore it makes sense that we lack the ability to properly digest another animal's milk. And specifically if you're Asian, it is really, really common to be lactose intolerant. And I was allergic to milk as a little kid, so I don't know how I suddenly kind of grew out of it or was able to consume dairy. But I noticed it because when I went to visit my boyfriend in Amsterdam, I noticed I was eating a lot more dairy, and I kind of connected the dots. On the days that I was eating more dairy, I would have an upset stomach. I would wake up in the middle of the night and get sick, like I would throw up, and it was kind of scary because I didn't really understand why it was happening. It took me some time to kind of put it together. I was thinking, like, am I allergic to being in Amsterdam? I genuinely didn't know what it could be because I never suspected that dairy would be an issue for me. Anyways, I decided to experiment and I cut out dairy for about a week. And during that week of time, I was cooking for myself and experimenting with vegan products because by nature, all vegan products are also dairy-free. And I was reading through a couple of recipes. I think it was like a mac and cheese, for example, when I started to see the word vegan pop up. And I was really curious. It's like, oh, everybody's talking about vegan. Like, what does it really mean? So I did a little research and I wasn't too familiar with what it really meant to be vegan. I kind of just thought of it as a diet. And for health reasons, it made sense to me. I had been feeling so good after that week of being dairy-free. Like, I could physically feel better and more energetic than ever, less sluggish, just this feeling of lightness that I thought, why not try cutting out the meat and the eggs and the rest of it too? So that next week I went vegan, basically cold tofu, as you guys may know, and that was that. I felt more amazing than I had ever felt before, and if you're somebody who's ever had like chronic digestion issues, you know how good that feels to just feel normal, or just to not have to think about your stomach all the time, not have to worry about stomach aches randomly. They can be really debilitating. I mean, for me personally, my greatest fear is to get a stomach ache, because if it's a headache, I can kind of manage, but for some reason, when it comes to stomach ache, one of the only ways I can feel better is to like curl up into a ball, and you just can't do that in public, you know? So that's how it started, and it was definitely for my own personal reasons. It was selfishly motivated, it was for health reasons, and a lot of people like to say, you know, if you go vegan for health reasons, you're not really vegan. You guys know how I feel about that. I don't judge people. I'm not an exclusionist when it comes to being vegan, but I do think if you're going to commit to a vegan lifestyle and do more than just eat vegan as a diet, that it is important to understand and get connected to the ethics and just the impact on environment and animals, other reasons for going vegan, basically. I didn't really want to watch documentaries because the thing is, I am a very sensitive person, and my reasoning was like, I don't need to watch things like Earthlings because I'm already vegan. I'm not eating that stuff, you know? But occasionally I would see a video pop up from like more of an activist social media account or YouTube videos where people were showing clips of animal cruelty and just kind of the reality behind the meat industry, for example. So I would definitely say that learning those things are what really drew me into the lifestyle and created that connection for me. And I think those are the reasons that I'm still vegan today. I have a lot of friends and I know a lot of people who have gone vegan for health reasons and kind of tried on as more of a diet, which is okay. No judgment on my end. But I think a reason why it's easier to fall out of something like that is because you're not really attached to it. It's not something that you feel your values are connected to. It's more of something you're doing for your health. And therefore therefore it's a little bit easier to disconnect and step back when you don't have that connection or understanding. I do have to mention that during the time that I went vegan, I was working on eating disorder recovery, but it was kind of before I had decided to go vegan that I was already in recovery for the most part. And the thing about recovery is that it's tricky. I really do believe it's a lifelong practice. It's something that you have to check in with and maintain. It's not just gonna one day disappear. So, I was for the most part recovered. And of course, I had spoken with my nutritionist, my doctors, and they had decided that I was in the clear to eat this way so long as I was meeting my nutritional needs and following my prescribed meal plan at the time. And you may already know this, but Veggiekins started as my food accountability log as I was recovering from an eating disorder. So really I was using it to document the meals that I was eating to be compliant with my meal plan. And then as a result, it turned into a vegan food blog. One thing that really frustrates me is that a lot of people used to, I don't hear it as much anymore, but a lot of people used to frame veganism as an eating disorder. And I can understand where they're coming from. I think a lot of people see it as something that's restrictive, even though for me, I actually found it to be very liberating because suddenly I had this reason to eat that I had lost when I became genuinely afraid of food. I thought of food as like numbers, macros, things that would make me fat because I had an eating disorder and my mindset towards food was really, really messed up. And once I went vegan, I found this sort of reason to eat. I felt good about food. It was kind of exciting and new to learn to cook in a new way. And I felt good about what I was doing. It was kind of like this positive reinforcement knowing that what I was doing, the way I was eating was really gonna benefit animals and also the environment and then my health as well. All in all, for me personally, it was a really beneficial experience that I would say was the key component into like the final step of my recovery and really helped me to love and appreciate food. This is not the case for everyone, but it was for me. And of course, I always recommend speak with your doctor, speak with your nutritionist if this is something that you wanna do. But for a lot of people, it can be a little tricky to discern, am I going vegan for the right reason if you're in a disordered mind state? So that's all I'm gonna say on that. But for me personally, it was one of the best things I could have ever asked for as far as healing my relationship with food. So that was a big component of it as well. Another thing related to mental health that you may already know is that I struggled with substance and alcohol addiction and abuse. And I really must say, when I started to feel physically better, it did become really difficult to keep up with those habits of like using substances and consuming things. I could physically feel that I was damaging my body. I had been sort of healthy enough to now have a baseline. And when you're eating less processed foods and foods that are more easily digestible and then you throw something in there that isn't great for you, you feel it. And for that reason alone, there was less motivation to continue in my old habits. So I would also say that veganism helped me with my recovery in that sense. Veganism did so much for me in terms of improving my physical health, but also my mental health. And it's really all encompassing. I think too, the most important thing that I kind of realized one day is that I was eating better and eating this way and eating plants because I wanted to be compassionate, and it really taught me to be compassionate towards myself. That was sort of the missing piece for me. And when I think about it now, I mean, it was a lot going on. I was working on my substance and alcohol addiction, also my eating disorder recovery, and transitioning into this like new lifestyle. But the truth is, having the passion and the motivation to really kind of embrace the new lifestyle was very healing for me. I felt like I was really growing as a person and learning to be compassionate for myself. And it was actually one of my therapists that mentioned that to me. They asked me why I was going vegan, and when I told them about the compassion element, they asked me whether I felt like I was compassionate towards myself and practicing compassion towards my body. And that really, really clicked and stuck with me. When you're restricting your intake and you're consuming substances in order to cope or use it as a means of escape, you are not being kind to yourself. Fast forward to where we are now, 2021. I've been vegan for, I think, 6 or 7 years. At a certain point, I kind of stopped counting because it's just something that has become my lifestyle. It doesn't feel like something that I really think about ever because it's so ingrained in my habits, my lifestyle, everything. But I've been a vegan for a long time, and I've also gone through phases of being a little bit more health focused. Then for a certain period of time, I was very activism focused. I just couldn't understand why other people weren't vegan. I had definitely less empathy and understanding for people who weren't vegan, and I was more of, I don't want to say an extreme vegan, but I was definitely saying things that were very, I guess I was framing things as very black and white. And as you may have seen in one of my recent videos where I talk about things that I wish I knew when I first went vegan, my mindset has definitely shifted a lot. And now, as you guys know, I create vegan recipes full-time as part of what I do. It's my job. It's what I love. I'm so passionate about it, and it's afforded me this platform. My mission is not necessarily to tell people, hey everyone, you need to go vegan, but it's more to encourage more plants on plates. I love to see more meatless meals, whether that's one meal, one day, or somebody being interested in trying one vegan dish, for example. I live my life the way I feel is most aligned with my personal values, but I never impose my values and beliefs on other people because we're all our own person. You know what I mean, garbanzo bean? I think I'm rambling a little bit and definitely going on tangents a little too much, so I think we'll wrap it up here because that is just about it for my story. It's been many, many years. Veganism has come so far, and I'm so happy to say that now in 2021, veganism is definitely a little bit more normal. I really did experience a lot of people judging the way that I ate and my lifestyle, even from family members who just couldn't understand what it was, and I'm so grateful for how far the movement has been able to come. I've been so happy to just be able to contribute in my small way by putting out YouTube videos and sharing recipes. It really is a good feeling. So that is my story. I hope you enjoyed. I would love to hear from you if you're vegan, how long ago you went vegan. I've met some people who've been vegan for 10, 20 years, and it's really inspiring to me. Would love to hear it in the comments below, or if you're just transitioning or just kind of flexitarian, plant-based, whatever it is, I'd love to hear from you. So let me know. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the bell button so you don't miss my last and final Plants Please video. I'll see you in another one soon. Bye!